Lift Events and Experiences, known for Canada's #1 cannabis conference and trade shows, is hosting a full slate of events in 2023 and expanding to the U.S. And you're invited. Lift welcomes everyone from legacy participants to multi-state operators to everyday folks who enjoy and respect the plant. Join us in lifting the cannabis community together January 12th through the 14th in Vancouver, then Toronto in June, and San Francisco in August. Visit liftevents.com for details. That's liftevents.com.
We see compelling opportunities, we'll aggregate an SPV. And our minimums in those SPVs, depending on the opportunity, could be as low as 10,000. They're usually 25. And then lastly, I will tell you, our capital group has just launched a crowdfunding site under Title III to part of our regulated business. You can write a $500 check into a cannabis startup. So all kinds of ways to participate, depending upon how active or inactive you'd like to be.
From the PodConx studios, high in the Rockies at the beautiful Beaver Creek Resort, it's the Raising Cannabis Capital Show.
Today on MJ Bulls, we are continuing the 5th annual Cannabis Investor Series sponsored by PodConx, the cannabis industry's exclusive network of cannabis podcasts that actually allows cannabis companies to advertise. Go to podconx.com to connect to more cannabis listeners. On today's show, we're joined by Jeffrey Finkle, the CEO of the ArcView Group. Jeffrey, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for having me back. Obviously, I didn't make too many mistakes the first time.
We gave you a pass to correct any ones that you did. Give you a second chance. It's good to have you in the Investor Series. Last time you were here, we talked about the ArcView Group and your broad spectrum of programs and services, but today we're going to focus primarily on cannabis investing. Over the last year, cannabis investment capital has really dried up, and for most stages. You do a lot of work with startups. How has it affected early stage investing?
Negatively. Well, look, yeah, I mean, that's the theme overall. I think there's a lot at play that's creating that dynamic. First of all, it's hard to raise venture and private equity funds in cannabis right now. When you're talking to an LP and you're soliciting interest, the LP says, hey, the top 10, say top 5 tier 1, top 5 tier 2 cannabis public companies are so depressed. They were down 80% from the high. I think they're down 60% from the high. But you know what? Why don't I just spread my money across, a spattering of the top 10? I'll get 3 or 4 times my money in 4 or 5 years. That's a venture capital rate of return. So, and I get liquidity along the way. So that's what private equity funds and venture funds up against about aggregating capital, and the lack of fund progression is one of the things that's exacerbating the availability of capital into startups. So that should abate as the public companies recover. I mean, now we have certainly a macro dynamic that's happening all over with the economy. And so, a lot of predictions about how that's going to play out throughout the 4 quarters of 2023. So we don't know. But I think as that abates, more money will come back in. Now, that said, there clearly is capital in the industry. It's not as much. And case in point, we just ran our first investor conference post-COVID in New York last week. It was a huge success. We had close to 400 people attend. And we had a whole series of content programming around investors. We did a reverse pitch. I had 15 venture capital funds come on stage and tell the audience about their funds. Some of them were putting out 1 to 3 million in deals, some putting out 500 to 750 in deals, some putting out 5 to 8 into deals. Mm-hmm. So it's there. Capital is there. It's much harder to find. The vetting lens is sharper than ever, but it's there. And also, as you go to each new region, like the Midwest and Michigan and New York, new investors want to play. They're coming out. They want to learn about the industry. They may have been active in other sectors, and they're in the exploration stage. So every time we sort of branch out, we find new groups that are interested. So look, overall, it's not positive, but I don't want people to feel like there's absolutely no equity capital sitting out there.
Yeah. Well, I know we've heard a lot about the show that you recently did in New York. So there's definitely is interest. And, one of the byproducts of less capital is valuations are down. I know a lot of people are looking at the valuation saying, wow, these are some really good deals out there. But the overall economy sort of has a lot of these people cautious. What are some options that investors that want to participate but don't want to put a lot of money in? Do you have any options for those type of people?
We have 3 ways in which ArcView invests in our venture group. One, I would say, is not an option for people that want to put a little bit of money to work. That is our partnership with Entourage Effect Capital, where we sort of co-manage a pocket out of their Fund 3 to invest in seed and early growth opportunities, companies that might require a $500 to $750K check from us in maybe a $3 or $4 million round. That's impossible. If you want to get involved in that, you got to take an LP interest in their Fund 3, and that's a higher ticket. As you know, that we primarily invest out of our collective fund, which is a member-managed venture fund. We've aggregated 78 angels into a collaborative decision-making model. It's in a fund. It's committed capital. We are about to do our second one into next year. And the minimums for that is $75,000. And that's called over a 3 or 4 year. This one will probably be over 3 years. So you're not coming up with that all up front. It would be 25K basically each capital call. But that's not a big number for, people that are thinking of allocating to sort of as an angel investor, and you're part of a big model. So that's one inexpensive way. There are 2 others, actually, one in the venture group, one outside. The third way is that when we see compelling opportunities, we'll aggregate an SPV. And our minimums in those SPVs, depending on the opportunity, could be as low as 10,000. They're usually 25. And then lastly, I will tell you, our capital group has just launched a crowdfunding site under Title III. It's part of our regulated business. You can write a $500 check into a cannabis startup. So all kinds of ways to participate, depending upon how active or inactive you'd like to be.
Are you ready to make a career change? Is cannabis your passion? Find the right job at a great cannabis company today with a free account at Vanx.com. Vanx has spent years developing relationships with the top cannabis companies. So whether you're looking for a temporary gig at a music festival like Outside Lands or a C-level position with a large MSO, Vanx makes it easy. Simply upload your resume and credentials at Vanx.com to connect with companies directly or talk with one of their expert recruiters. It's all free through the Vanx platform. So what are you waiting for? Get the career you've always wanted by signing up for your free account at Vanx.com. That's VANGST.com, and learn why so many people are proud to work in cannabis. Let's talk about raising capital. What advice would you give cannabis companies who are holding off, sort of waiting for the markets to come back and hopefully their valuations to go up?
Well, if you need the money now, you can't hold off. It's that simple. If you need $1 million in a seed extension or a convertible note, to say, maybe I'll just raise 250 and do the rest when conditions improve, that is a complete waste of time. It's a painful exercise to raise money. It takes most of the CEO's focus during that period of time, which means, he's not spending as much time actually running the business. That's a mistake. I would say if you need the money, raise the money. If you don't need the money, by all means, wait a little bit. I'm not sure conditions are going to improve over the next 6 months, maybe the latter part of 2023. With the possible exception of we get some movement on SAFE in the lame duck session, which is possible. And we do hear some rumblings about, I know Biden, obviously with his announcement about reviewing scheduling, we have some indications that could really step up in months before the 2024 election. But you're looking at like a year window between, say, end of Q2 2023 into 24 before I think financing conditions will improve appreciably and valuations will get back up to maybe what they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, we need some good news. The Biden announcement was a good news. It's just a couple more things to get people re-energized and hopefully the economy to come back too. Before we wrap, let's talk about some of the services that you provide companies that are raising capital. What are some of the benefits of working with the ArcView Group?
Yeah, I mean, one is our conference business, right? So we have a big stage. We did a pitch competition. We had 8 companies presenting. There were, lots of investors in the room, not only the 15 institutional funds in the room, but many high net worth individuals. So we help them just by coming to our conferences and being part of it. We have a consulting group that helps companies design their SOPs and helps them with their pitch decks. We have a group that's sort of an incubated marketing agency underneath our banner, which helps companies design collateral and gets their initial website up and so forth. And of course, we have our capital group that helps them raise money on a mandate, as well as the crowdfunding site where they can be listed. That takes a little bit of work, but it's a cost-effective way to go to market and raise money. So there really are a lot of ways that an interaction with the ArcView Group can help, an early stage or a seed stage or early growth stage company access capital markets and get funded.
Yeah, I remember when we spoke last, we talked about the collective a little bit, and a lot of the members within your group are with a lot of experience and are willing to step in and give some advice or some guidance. And I thought that was an interesting value to being part of the group.
Yeah, I'd say more the individual angel investors that have time on their hands, that are not ready to retire, that want to give back and that want to help. Yeah, there's a lot of willing people in our universe that do add value and are available for that.
Well, that's being part of the ArcView universe. That's great. Jeffrey, before we wrap up, are you going to be doing another event soon?
Yeah, actually, we're doing a second investor conference in Miami, December 7th through 9th. We're going to, focus a little bit more on what's happening in the Southeast states. And we're certainly, as we always do, focusing on entrepreneurs, operators, and matching them with capital that can fund their business. Really excited about it. We're planning our whole 2023 calendar, and we're going to do probably 5 conferences and then a bunch of individual one-day best practices workshops. So look forward to seeing that stuff come out. But yeah, Miami, December 7th through 9th. It should be warm. All of you snowbirds or those residing in cold climates, feel free to come and get some sun on your back. We'd love to see you.
That'll be great. Well, we'll have all the information in the ArcView groups in the show notes. So if you're interested in investing or maybe attending the conference, or if you're looking to raise capital, just click the links and I'm sure somebody from Jeffrey's team will be happy to help you. Always good to have you on the show. Thanks again for doing this, Jeffrey.
My pleasure, Dan. Good to speak to you again.
Thanks for listening to today's show. To check out more great cannabis podcasts, go to PodConx.com. Here's a preview of one of our other shows.
Cannabis Health Radio is a podcast about stories from people around the world who have used cannabis to deal with serious ailments, many of them life-threatening. My name is Ian Jessup. My co-host Corey Yelland is no stranger to the devastating emotional impact faced by so many people receiving a death sentence diagnosis from a doctor. Told she only had months to live with anal canal cancer, Corey researched and immediately began using cannabis oil to eliminate her cancer and has been cancer-free for more than a decade. She told herself that if it worked, she would spend the rest of her life helping others, which she does tirelessly every day. When you listen to our podcast, you'll hear many stories like Corey's, along with others who have used cannabis oil for many more ailments besides cancer, such as chronic pain, PTSD, MS, and many, many more. As one of our guests said, "Your podcast gave me the confidence to save my own life." We regularly get messages from listeners who have heard our podcast and use cannabis to solve a serious health issue of their own or that of a loved one. We hope you listen to these stories and be as inspired and moved as we are with each and every episode.